Do not begin on the outside, for all creation begins within. The world that greets you each morning is not the cause of your fortune or your trouble. It is the mirror faithfully reporting what you have quietly accepted about yourself. If you would change the report, change the acceptance. If you would change the shadow, touch the light. Tonight I will give you something simple you can live. You will see what consciousness is, why men fall asleep from it, how to remain awake in an ordinary day, and how to know you are advancing, not a theory to admire, but a practice to keep. Before you say, I am this or I am that, there is a silent knowing, I am. That root is the cause. Discover this, and you will understand why I say, consciousness is the only reality. You have heard it said, consciousness is the only reality. Many stumble at those words and call them mysterious, but there is no mystery. Consciousness is simply your awareness of being. Each day begins with a quiet confession, I am. And whatever you join to that confession with feeling becomes the seed from which your world must grow. Here is the difficulty. Most men do not know what they are planting. They carry over yesterday's verdicts into today, saying in silence, I am broke, I am overlooked, I am unworthy. These are not harmless phrases. They are silent agreements, and life, ever faithful, brings witnesses to make them true. This is what it means to sleep. To be asleep is not merely to lie in bed, it is to confuse the picture with the cause. You look at facts and declare, this is who I am. Then you react to your own report. You fear, you plead, you complain, planting the same seed again and again, never noticing that the soil is your own awareness. Awakening is a return to the root. Pause for a moment and drop the labels. No longer, I am busy, I am broke, I am unworthy. Be still and feel only this, I am. Before title, before problem, before success, only being. Scripture says, be still and know that I am God. Do not stumble at the word God. It names your own being. Be still. Withdraw your consent from the noise of appearances. Know I am is cause. What follows is only effect. From this root, choose a new name. Do not juggle 10 affirmations. One clear acceptance is enough. I am guided and supplied, or I am chosen and secure, or I am cherished and provided for. The right name feels simple. It feels kind. Wear it inwardly until it becomes natural. The solution is not to wrestle the mirror. Clothe yourself within, and the mirror must obey. Yes, you will still meet echoes of the old state. Do not call them failures. Call them harvest. Yesterday's seed must return to be reaped. Stand faithful to your new acceptance, and the field must change. Preference is stronger than force. A quiet yes in the heart outweighs 1,000 noisy denials. Remember, thoughts and states are not the same. Thoughts are birds that fly in and out. A state is the grove that calls them. Say within, I am always late, and soon the world echoes it. Traffic thickens, lines lengthen, tools refuse to cooperate. But change the tone, and the chorus changes. Do not chase the birds, change the grove. There is also a difference between attention and awareness. Attention is where the mind looks. Awareness is the one who looks. Attention runs to bills, to messages, to faces that disturb you, but awareness remains silent, steady, unshaken. Forget this difference, and you fall asleep to yourself. Remember it, and you regain your dominion. So make this practical. Close your eyes for a breath and feel, I am. Do not add a single word. No describing, no measuring, only being. in that bare awareness. There is no rival, no deadline, no lack. From that quiet root, speak your new name once and let the body agree. Then take one small action that belongs to the man who bears that name. Reply with calm. Put one thing in order. Step into the day without hurry. Small acts born of new acceptance are sacraments. They seal the cause. You ask, will this change my circumstances? It must, for first it changes you, your tone, your inner speech, your posture toward life. Then facts, unable to resist the sustained cause, reshape themselves according to the new pattern. Do not measure by headlines, measure by flavor. When the flavor of your hours changes, the form will not be far behind. This is the waking of the sleeping God, no longer ruled by appearances, but living again from the root of I am. The problem is forgetfulness. The remedy is remembrance. Return and return again, gently, gladly, until the return itself becomes natural. Now that the root is set, let me show you what happens when a man stays loyal to his new name. How the very world that once pushed him around begins to take its orders from within. When a man lives unaware, he drifts like one carried along by a stream. He imagines events are happening to him when in truth they are flowing out from him. He calls himself a victim of circumstance, yet all the while the circumstance was born of his inner state. This is the sleep of which I speak. To be unconscious of your true self is to live as an echo forever answering to the world around you. You worry when others worry. You rejoice only when others applaud. Life becomes a mirror of reaction, never of creation. But when a man awakens, the mirror changes. He sees that the stream begins within. He no longer asks, why has this happened to me? But what within me produced this? That is the great shift from effect to cause, from slave to master, from wanderer to creator. The awakened man no longer spends his days in anxious toil. He does not fear missing his chance. He does not envy another's success. He knows every event is but the outpicturing of an assumed state. He knows the seed is always within. And what is the fruit of such awakening? Freedom. True freedom is not the license to do as you please with outer things. True freedom is the discovery that the outer is pliable, that it must conform to the inner pattern you persist in. You are not bound by the verdict of men, nor by the weight of history. You are bound only by the state you will not leave. Consider the difference. The man asleep says, I cannot help myself. The economy is poor. My family is against me. The doctor has spoken. And so his life shrinks in obedience to shadows. The man awake says, I am the cause. The economy reflects my state. My family are actors in the play I author. The verdict is but the voice of my own fear. And so he rewrites the script by assuming a new state. One lives in fear, the other in faith. One reacts, the other creates. One waits for doors, the other assumes the door already stands open. Do not think awakening is only philosophical. It is intensely practical. It reshapes your days, your body, your relationships, your purse. For when you awaken, you no longer scatter your energy on appearances. You dwell in the root. You trade struggle for rest, confusion for clarity, despair for assurance. Will this not make me careless with life, some may ask? No, it makes you master of life. For the careless man ignores the cause and frets over effects. The awakened man plants only what he desires to harvest, and therefore walks with a steadiness unknown to those still dreaming. Awakening is not escape from life. It is entrance into life as it truly is. It is to walk the earth, knowing all things spring from the invisible root of consciousness. And with that knowledge, you are never again the beggar at the gate. You are the owner of the house. You have heard me say many times, creation is finished. All that you could ever desire already exists in the eternal present. Yet what is the obstacle? Why does it seem so hidden? The answer is simple: forgetfulness. You forget who you are. You forget the one who dreams. And in that forgetfulness, you wander as though life were happening to you instead of flowing from you. So then the practice is not to create something new, but to remember, to return again and again to the simple fact, I am. That is the doorway. That is the power. When I speak of remembrance, I do not mean repeating phrases as though words could persuade God. I mean sinking quietly into the awareness that you exist. Before rich or poor, before loved or lonely, there is one fact that cannot be denied. You are. Feel that bare fact of being, not tied to circumstance, not dressed with titles, not entangled in stories, just awareness, pure and simple. Throughout the day, you are tempted to forget. You hear the news and think how dreadful the world is. You see a bill and think, I do not have enough. Someone ignores you and you think, I am unwanted. In those moments, you are not conscious. You are asleep in the dream, clothed in false garments. But here is the practice. Stop, even for a breath. Close the inner eye to appearances and return to the center. Say within yourself, not aloud but in silence, I am. Feel the quiet pulse of existence. Rest in it. Do not rush to add anything after the words. Just I am. That alone is your foundation. And from that ground, you may then choose the garment you will wear. Let me give you examples. For truth must be lived, not admired. Suppose someone insults you. The old self burns with anger, prepares a reply, seeks revenge. But in that instant, pause. Withdraw attention from the sting and feel within, I am. That awareness does not flinch, does not shrink. From there, you may choose to dwell in dignity, composure, love, and in time, the outer world will reflect that choice. Or imagine you are waiting for money. The payment is delayed. The account is empty. Fear rises. What do most do? They chase the fear with frantic thoughts. But you stop. Breathe. Turn inward. Feel I am. Do not define yourself by lack. Let your heart rest in the truth that being itself is wealth. Then clothe that being in security. Imagine the relief of bills paid, the ease of abundance, not as a distant hope, but as your natural state. Or consider love. You feel ignored, perhaps unwanted. Loneliness presses on you. What then? Do not plead for another's attention. Do not sink into despair. Instead, close the door to appearances. Enter the secret place of the Most High, your own consciousness. Feel I am. Then let that being be clothed in love. Imagine the warmth of companionship, the gentle touch of being cherished, and remain faithful to that unseen reality. You see, the practice is simple. The challenge is not difficulty, but consistency. Each moment is a fork in the road. Will you react to appearances or return to remembrance? One leads to bondage, the other to freedom. Do this often, morning, noon, and night, in quiet and in noise, in triumph and in trial. Every pause becomes an altar, every breath a prayer, every return to I am, a step into your true inheritance. And as you persist, remembrance becomes natural. You slip into it without effort. The silence welcomes you like an old friend. And out of that silence, new conditions spring forth, quietly, naturally, inevitably. So then, practice remembrance. Let every day be filled with small returns. As you return, you awaken. And as you awaken, you rule. Now, what happens when you persist in this remembrance? Life begins to reveal its secret. You discover that consciousness is not a theory, not a word to debate. It is the one reality from which everything flows. At first, the results may seem small. A little ease here, a small coincidence there. Do not despise them. They are signs the soil is fertile, that your seed has taken root. Continue in faith, and soon the harvest appears in ways you could never have planned. You will notice your inner world growing calm. Fear no longer grips so tightly. Doubt no longer whispers so loudly. You feel anchored. And this inner stability is itself the first miracle. Out of it, outer changes unfold. Relationships healed. Opportunities opened. Needs supplied. Not by striving, but by alignment. The greatest fruit of all is freedom. You are no longer a slave to appearances. The world may shout lack, but you know supply. The world may display division, but you abide in wholeness. You are no longer tossed by every wave, for you stand upon the rock of being. This is why I say consciousness is the only reality. For when you abide in I am, all else bows before it. Creation rushes to mirror the image you hold within. So do not merely admire these words. Live them, test them. When doubt comes, return to remembrance. When appearances shout, return to the silence. Train yourself to look not at what seems to be, but at what is true within. And as you do, you will prove the law for yourself. You will taste and see that the Lord, the I am within you, is good. Now, let us go into the silence.